On a cold spring night, while most of the world slept, astronomers caught sight of something sliding silently across the black canvas of space. At first glance, it looked like any other comet, a faint smudge, a traveler passing through. But headlines the very next morning told a very different story. Alien death comet approaches Earth. Astronomers hide the truth about interstellar visitor. Within hours, television hosts, podcasters, and conspiracy forums were alive with panic. To some, this glowing stranger from another star was nothing less than an omen, a cosmic warning shot fired straight at humanity. The fear spread quickly, feeding on our deepest insecurities. Immigrants whispered of omens their ancestors once feared. Politicians, always eager for a new talking point, seized on the panic. What if it was an alien weapon? What if Earth was the next target? Their words were laced with arrogance, as though a ball of ice and rock existed purely to test human power. The villain here was not the comet, it was fear itself, sharpened by sensationalism and ignorance, cloaked in the language of certainty. And yet, beneath the noise and the shouting, the comet nicknamed 3I, Atlas glided in silence. It did not roar or thunder. It did not threaten. It simply was. But silence has always been the most terrifying sound of all, because in silence, our imagination fills the void with nightmares. The outrage, the hysteria, the instant leap to worst-case scenarios, it revealed more about us than about the visitor. Our arrogance told us we were the center of the universe. Our fear insisted we were its prey. The comet's light became a mirror, reflecting not just the night sky, but every insecurity about our place in it. Still, somewhere in the noise, a quieter truth flickered. Scientists hunched over their telescopes, knew the headlines were lies. They could see the data forming a picture, something stranger, more delicate, more profound than any fear could conjure. This was not a monster barreling toward Earth, nor an alien scout ship. It was something else, something that defied easy explanation. But at that moment, the world wasn't ready for the truth. The world wanted drama. It wanted enemies. It wanted fear. And fear, for a time, would win. But no one could have predicted what happened next. For centuries, the night sky seemed eternal and unchanging. Stars burned like fixed lanterns. Planets traced familiar paths. And comets, though unpredictable, belonged to our sun's domain. They were wanderers, yes, but wanderers of our neighborhood. That illusion shattered in 2017 when the first true outsider arrived. Astronomers named it ʻOumuamua, a word from Hawaiian meaning scout or messenger. It was a fragment from another star system, the first interstellar visitor ever witnessed by human eyes. Long, thin, and tumbling end over end, it moved unlike any object we had seen. Some whispered it was a shard of alien technology, a probe quietly observing us before moving on. 2 years later, before the astonishment had settled, a second visitor blazed into view. 2Y, Borisov. Unlike the enigmatic ʻOumuamua, Borisov looked more like the comets we knew except for one crucial difference. Its chemistry, its speed, its trajectory, all screamed, "I am not from here." For the first time, humanity wasn't just speculating. It had proof. Pieces of distant suns could and did cross into our fragile solar system. So when 3I Atlas arrived, it was no longer a novelty, it was a pattern. For the third time in human history, a traveler arrived from another solar system, and suddenly the cosmos felt smaller, closer, more dangerous than ever before. These were not rare one-in-a-million events. They were reminders that our world is not sealed off. We are vulnerable to the same cosmic currents that sweep across galaxies. Think about it. Our ancestors once feared eclipses, believing the heavens were sending omens. Today, we fear something much larger. What if one of these interstellar travelers were not harmless? What if, instead of a comet breaking apart, it was a dense shard of rock aimed directly at Earth? The scale of destruction defies imagination. A single impact could erase cities, ignite skies, or plunge us into another ice age. The dinosaurs never saw their killer coming. Would we? This was the anxiety humming beneath the headlines. Humanity, for all its power, remains small, an island of life orbiting a single star, hoping the next traveler is merciful. Every new discovery expands our sense of awe, but also our sense of fragility. And fragility is fertile ground for speculation. Was 3I, Atlas, a mere fragment of ice and dust? Or was it something more deliberate? An artifact? A message? Perhaps even a test? The awe was undeniable. People stood outside with binoculars, craning their necks, eager to glimpse history in motion. For some, it was humbling proof of our connection to the wider galaxy. For others, it was a ticking time bomb, a reminder of how little control we truly have. Scientists warned the object was faint, unstable, and fragile. But in the theater of public imagination, fragility could mean anything: camouflage, trickery, an unknown weapon cloaked in ice. And then, just as speculation reached its fever pitch, a discovery landed like a thunderclap. Astronomers peering through their lenses noticed something odd. The object was not intact. It was coming undone before their very eyes, unraveling like a fragile snowflake drifting too close to a flame. And then, astronomers realized it was already falling apart. The news cycle did not hesitate. Within hours of the announcement that 3I, Atlas, was disintegrating, the frenzy ignited. Television anchors spoke with trembling voices. Headlines screamed catastrophe. Cosmic harbinger of doom crumbles in the sky. Is this the first sign of alien contact? Tabloids plastered fiery illustrations across front pages, comet shards raining over cities, alien spacecraft emerging from a glowing core. Fear had found its fuel, and speculation fanned the flames into an inferno. Conspiracy theorists leapt at the opportunity. On late-night streams, self-proclaimed experts declared that Atlas was no comet at all. It was an interstellar probe disguised in ice, its breakup nothing more than a clever decoy before revealing its true form. Some swore they could already see geometric shapes in telescope images, proof that humanity was being studied, maybe even targeted. One viral post asked, "What if the comet is scanning us, testing our defenses?" It spread like wildfire, shared by millions desperate for drama. But paranoia alone wasn't the only villain. Arrogance stepped into the ring too. Politicians eager to sound strong dismissed the object entirely. They waved it away as another science scare, a ploy by astronomers to secure funding. "Why worry about a snowball from another star?" one lawmaker boomed, "when our real issues are right here at home." To them, Atlas was a talking point, a distraction, something to be mocked. Their confidence wasn't reassuring, it was reckless. The divide sharpened. On one side stood the prophets of doom, insisting the end was near. On the other stood those too proud to admit the unknown might hold real danger. Between them, the truth trembled, drowned out by louder voices. This was the villain of the moment, not the comet itself, but the human tendency to turn uncertainty into theater, to bend mystery into a reflection of our deepest fears and flaws. Television debates grew heated. One commentator, red-faced and shouting, warned that Atlas could scatter fragments on a collision course with Earth. "We should prepare for impact drills," he insisted. His opponent scoffed, smirking into the camera. "It's just ice. Ice doesn't scare me. We're Earth, we're strong." The audience laughed and clapped, not realizing the arrogance in that dismissal. The arrogance of a species that thinks itself untouchable, even when history proves otherwise. In the streets, conversations grew anxious. Parents fielded questions from children who had seen terrifying thumbnails on YouTube. Social media boiled over with hashtags, "Alien Atlas," "Comet Doom," "The End is Near." Memes mixed humor with fear. Glowing eyes pasted onto comet photos, captions declaring, "Mom said it's just a rock, but what if it's watching us?" Each post blurred the line between satire and panic. Fear became contagious, and like all contagions, it spread far faster than facts. But here was the cruel irony. While the public obsessed over whether 3I Atlas spelled doom, the true story unfolding in the data was far stranger than any rumor. The comet wasn't holding secrets of alien technology or threatening Earth with fiery shards. It was unraveling in ways that defied easy explanation. Every fragment told a story not of menace, but of fragility, a reminder of how delicate these cosmic wanderers truly are. And yet, the loudest voices weren't the ones searching for truth. They were the ones amplifying fear, feeding suspicion, and mocking humility. Humanity had once feared eclipses, comets, and storms as divine wrath. In the age of science, we tell ourselves we are wiser, but the noise surrounding Atlas revealed how easily old fears can wear new masks, how quickly arrogance can smother curiosity. The comet had become a canvas. Onto it, people painted their insecurities, their politics, their hunger for spectacle. Some saw an alien armada, others saw a hoax. Few paused to wonder what the disintegration truly meant, because beyond the noise, in quiet observatories across the world, astronomers were staring at their screens, baffled. What they were witnessing wasn't just a comet breaking apart. It was something stranger, subtler, more mysterious than anyone outside their circles could imagine. But beyond the noise, the scientists saw something even more mysterious. While the world raged in paranoia and posturing, another story was unfolding in Sile. The studio lights burned hot. The anchor's smirk sharpened into something almost triumphant, and the room leaned forward in anticipation of his final blow. He inhaled, ready to spit words that would echo across headlines. You want people to fear a pile of ice? You want them to believe their future hangs on a snowball that can't even hold itself together? The insult hung in the air like a blade, but the astronomer didn't flinch. Instead, she leaned closer to the microphone, her voice steady, calm, unshakable. Yes, she said, because that snowball is older than Earth itself. Because it has traveled farther than any human eye can see. Because when it crumbles, it reveals secrets older than our species, our nations, our arrogance. The words sliced through the tension, quiet but devastating. The audience shifted again, the smirk on the anchor's lips faltering into silence. Cameras caught the moment his confidence cracked, the faint realization dawning that perhaps the story was larger than his performance. And beyond that studio, in observatories and classrooms and living rooms across the world, the real revelation was unfolding not in insults, but in images of 3I, Atlas itself, captured night after night as it came undone. Imagine it, a fragment of another solar system, a wanderer older than our mountains and oceans, hurtling toward us across unimaginable gulfs of time and space. For millions, perhaps billions of years, it had drifted in darkness, untouched, unseen. Now, drawn close by the sun's warmth, it faced a force it could not withstand. Its icy body, fragile as spun glass, began to fracture. Solar heat seeped into cracks, pressure built, and with every rotation, stresses ripped through its frozen core. Through telescopes, astronomers saw it breaking apart not in a fiery explosion, but in a slow, majestic unraveling. The coma, that faint halo of gas and dust, swelled and then fractured, splitting into ghostly plumes that stretched for millions of miles. Chunks separated from the nucleus, tumbling like shards of ancient glass, scattering into space. What tabloids called a death comet was, in truth, a fragile snowball surrendering to the sun's relentless embrace. It wasn't a weapon, it wasn't an omen, it was a lesson. Here was the universe, stripping away our illusions of control. Here was nature, silent and impartial, reminding us that the cosmos is not here to destroy us, nor to save us. It simply is. The real danger was never Atlas. The real danger was fear itself, the arrogance of dismissing the unknown, the panic of filling silence with nightmares. And in that moment, science triumphed. The astronomers, weary but resolute, released their findings. They showed the world the data, light curves bending, fragments dispersing, brightness dropping as the comet faded into ruin. The villain's story of alien probes, of doomsday impacts collapsed under the weight of reality. And reality, far from being dull, was breathtaking. Clips of the scientist's calm rebuttal went viral, her words replayed with swelling music, shared as a meme of resilience, the quiet dignity of truth against the loud arrogance of fear. It's not a monster, one caption read. It's a snowflake from another sun. For once the noise gave way to wonder. The comet itself became a kind of symbol. Teachers spoke of it as proof that humanity lives in a vast, connected galaxy. Activists used it as a metaphor for fragility, how something can appear immense and threatening, yet collapse under its own weakness. Immigrant communities embraced the imagery too. A traveler from far away, misunderstood, feared, and yet carrying beauty and wisdom in its journey. Atlas became a story not of danger, but of dignity. The anchor, once smug, found himself cornered. Every attempt to mock was met with clips of the comet dissolving into light. The scientist's calm became the mic drop moment that silenced his bluster. Fear had been unmasked, arrogance humbled. Truth, fragile but persistent, had claimed its victory. But even victory came with an edge of melancholy. For as the comet disintegrated, its fragments drifting farther and fainter, humanity realized it would never return. This was a once-in-forever encounter, a brush with something ancient and unrepeatable. The visitor had arrived, told its silent story, and then faded into dust. Astronomers stayed glued to their screens until the very last traces slipped from detection. Some felt awe, some felt grief. One described it as watching a cathedral collapse in slow motion, knowing no one would ever build it again. The data was archived, the images saved, but the living presence of 3 Atlas was gone. And yet, in its vanishing, it left behind a challenge. If this snowball from another world could pass through our skies, what else might be on its way? What if the next traveler wasn't fragile? What if it wasn't harmless? The revelation of Atlas wasn't just about what it was about what it could have been. And that possibility haunted every calculation, every sleepless astronomer staring into the dark. The mic drop wasn't only in silencing arrogance. It was in unveiling a truth far more humbling than any headline. We are small, fragile, and never alone in this vast universe. But even as it vanished, its legacy haunted every astronomer. The comet's fragments were still dispersing across the void when Earth's digital sky lit up, not with stars, but with hashtags. Within hours of the scientists' calm rebuttal and the release of the data, Twitter trended with a single phrase, "Snowflake from another sun." What began as a technical metaphor blossomed into a cultural banner. Memes circulated, some lighthearted, some profound. One showed the comet drifting apart with the caption, "Fragile doesn't mean worthless." Another paired the viral clip of the anchor's silent smirk with the scientist's steady words, "Older than Earth itself." Social validation poured in. Young students posted homemade telescope images, shaky but proud, claiming their own connection to this interstellar visitor. Immigrants drew parallels between themselves and Atlas travelers from afar, misunderstood at first, but carrying stories of resilience and beauty. Instagram Reels transformed grainy telescope images into dazzling montages, layered with inspirational soundtracks. TikTok creators acted out dramatized versions of the studio debate, playing both villain and hero, exaggerating the anchor's arrogance before cutting to the quiet dignity of the scientist's mic drop moment. Mainstream media scrambled to catch up. Commentators who had once entertained doomsday theories pivoted sharply, now celebrating the scientists as heroic defenders of reason. Morning shows replayed the viral clip under headlines like "Truth Outshines Fear" and "The Moment Science Won." Talk radio hosts debated what Atlas symbolized, some insisting it was proof of human vulnerability, others claiming it embodied humanity's ability to rise above ignorance. Celebrities, too, joined the wave. A famous musician tweeted, "If a snowball from another star can survive billions of years just to break apart in our skies, maybe we can survive each other." A blockbuster actor reposted the clip of the scientist, adding simply, "Mic dropped." Their words were reshared millions of times, cementing the cultural shift. And then came the politicians. Some seized the moment to grandstand, proposing symbolic Comet Atlas Resilience Acts, attaching its name to education bills or space funding initiatives. Others tried to erase their earlier mockery, suddenly praising the scientific community they had dismissed just days before. But whatever the motivations, the message was clear. The narrative had turned. Fear-mongering had lost its grip. Calm dignity had won the stage. In immigrant neighborhoods, community leaders gave speeches tying Atlas to the human story. It traveled from afar, it faced suspicion, but it carried beauty, one pastor declared. That is our story too. Children painted murals of a comet dissolving into stars, its tail curling into a heart. For many, Atlas became a metaphor of pride-proof that even when misunderstood, one's journey can leave light behind. The pride was not just symbolic. Donations to science programs surged. Amateur astronomy clubs reported record sign-ups. Telescope sales spiked as families bought instruments, eager to point them skyward, to connect with something greater. It was as though humanity had been reminded that the cosmos was not only a source of fear, but of wonder. And through it all, the viral clip continued to spread. The villain's sneer, the hero's steady words, the pivot from arrogance to awe. Millions replayed it not for the science alone, but for the feeling, the thrill of seeing dignity triumph over cynicism. Justice had been served, not in a courtroom, but in the court of public opinion. The scientist's quiet voice became a rallying cry, proof that truth, delivered without theatrics, could still resonate louder than the most blustery performance. The villain had not been defeated by anger, but by the sheer gravity of reality itself. Yet even in this celebration, the comet's shadow lingered. For beneath the memes and pride in politics, astronomers whispered of another truth. Atlas was gone, but it would not be the last. Travelers from other systems would come again. Some fragile, some perhaps more dangerous. Humanity had seen how quickly paranoia could spread, how fragile dignity could be in the storm of fear. And so, amid the laughter and pride, one chilling thought threaded through the celebration. If this fragile snowball shook us so deeply, what happens when the next visitor is not so fragile?